All right. Well, welcome to Pull Up a Chair. And today we've got an amazing guest, one that's probably never been a guest before. I'm not sure. Dave, you can tell me whether or not. But we got Dave Gardner from the incredible Digital to Dice podcast. So welcome, Dave, onto the show.
No, thanks so much for having me. It is really nice to be able to just put on the headset and not worry about anything else. It's very rare that I get to do that without having to set something up and coordinate anything. So thanks for having me on. It's relaxing. It's relaxing.
That's good. That's good. I hope all's good. You know, personally, I know you've had some challenges and with the weather and with family and stuff. So I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, the wife's home from the hospital, so that's good. The weather, it's still piling snow up on us, and as you know, having too much snow it just cripples the area. It really does. In fact, last night we were snowed in so much that everyone's praying that there's no emergencies because ambulances couldn't get out, and fire trucks couldn't get out. So it's just if something happened, you're on your own, type of thing.
Yeah, I feel like you're in Alaska or something at that point,
Yeah, you see the videos of places with tons of snow, and that's kind of what it is around here. I think they said Providence set a record. They got 30 or 32 inches of snow the other day.
Wow.
And that's a lot for them. Yeah.
Yeah, we got 18 here in Colorado Springs, and I thought that was amazing. But I can't imagine 30. I mean, that's almost double that. So it's crippling. It basically shuts everything down when we become a COVID town,
Yeah, we got 27. It was 3 weeks ago. We got 27, I think it was, and that's still out in the yard. And it's just you can't move in 27 inches of snow. Even the coyotes are having a problem.
No doubt. I used to live in. I was stationed in Plattsburgh Air Force Base, New York, up there by Ron and by Burlington. And we used to get some serious snow up there in Plattsburgh, New York. And we would get 30-foot snow drifts. It was so crazy.
Wow.
It was, we were only maybe 30, 40 miles from Montreal up there. So it was just crazy, but love that area up there. So let's dive in. I wanted to do a kind of a deep dive into, what's made Digital to Dice such a success and such a big item for all of us who are in this hobby. It's been such a big thing, and just wanted to get some of the maybe behind the scenes info from you that you're willing to share, and also just get an appreciation for what it takes. I mean, this is my 13th episode, and I know what it takes just to do these 12, and you guys put on an amazing show. So I know, talking with Ron and we've talked a little bit before, the effort that you put into that show. And I just think that needs to be appreciated a little more by a lot of people. You just don't flip on, like you said, pop on that headset and start a show. There's so much more that goes into it than that. So let's start out. First question I have for you is, when did you realize that Digital to Dice was not just a podcast, it was a fixture in the community?
Wow. It was probably a year or two in.
Okay.
And even nowadays, I wonder, what it is and how many people listen and talk about it. But we just started doing it. And it's just, I wanted to talk about, my journey from video games to tabletop games. And Ron kind of joined me for a bit, and then he just stuck with it. And we just clicked. We had fun. And it was just fun weekly to sit down and talk about this stuff and talk about the games. And then we'd include the community, what's going on in the community. And, something would happen. We'd talk about it. And, somebody would get a big project going or a new game would come out. And we kind of just looked out there and talked about what was going on. And then, more people just started listening, and we started getting some comments and some feedback, and, more guests come on, and we get some higher profile guests on, and just, I think what it was fun. Okay. And because it was fun, that came through. And for me, I didn't care if anybody listened, because I was having fun, and I was enjoying myself talking about something I really enjoyed doing, playing the games. And I think that came through with me and Ron. And that's why, we just, actually, at the first year was a big celebration. I remember that first year we had a big celebration here after year one online, and we had a lot of people tuning in, and that was a fun show. Our 1 year anniversary was a real fun show. And then it just became like a weekly thing. It's just something that we did.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's just but we did agree that we had to be ready to do a show. We never did a show for the sake of doing a show. It's just, if like he has stuff going on, I have stuff going on. If he was in a bad mood, or if he was tired, maybe he didn't sleep, maybe he was sick, or maybe, something's going on, he would say, Dave, I can't do it today. Okay, then we pick another time. And I'm the same way. Like, we would talk and he'd like, well, you look really tired. It's like, yeah. I says, I was up last night. Work was a tough night and I didn't sleep. It's like, then we're not going to do a show. We said, we want to do a good show. We want to be ready for the show. And so if it means taking an extra day or 2 days, even an extra week, we never did a show just to do a show.
Right.
Is what the thing was.
What was I think I've heard bits and pieces of this story, but how did this get started? How did you and Ron connect, and how did you guys decide, hey, let's do this show on YouTube about cards and dice? Because there was nothing out there like this. So how did you guys decide that maybe this is a good idea? Let's do this and see what happens.
I was doing a video game podcast. Okay. And I had been with some people for about 10 years, I think it was. And I wasn't playing video games anymore. So I'm still going on the show with nothing to add. And so I kind of told him, I says, look, I think I'm going to step down from the video game show here. Cause I said, I'm not playing anything anymore. I haven't turned on my Xbox in 6 months, and I'm really enjoying these other games. And I know the people on the video game podcast don't want to hear about me playing Stratomatic or Apple on my table. It's just not what it is, Right. I think I actually, I think I snuck in on a couple episodes that I was playing like Action PC and Strat PC. So technically they're video games. So I did sneak in that, under the radar a little bit. But after that, it's like, yeah. So I still go on from time to time. I think I was on a few weeks ago. They had episode 800, I think it was. So I was on with them to celebrate that. Yeah. So I'm still friends with them. I still talk to them. But so I stepped down from that, and I says, I started a video diary is what I did. And that took a lot of time because there was a lot of editing and cutting and filming and scripts. And I did 2 or 3 of those. And I was like, something, I think I'm just going to make this an audio show. And I asked Ron, I said, what do you think? I says, I'm really enjoying these cards and dice games. And Ron was like suggesting all these games. He's like, try Shootout, try Strat, try Downey. So I'm trying all these games. I was having fun. I says, I think I'm going to talk about this instead of video games. And I said, what do you think? I says, do you think anybody would listen? And he goes, I have no idea. Really, that was the conversation. I says, well, let's do a couple of shows, and we'll put the podcast out there, and we'll put it out on, I think it was Delphi, and I don't know if we even had a Facebook group at the time. And we just threw it out there, and somehow people found it, and they liked it. And then we started doing it, and we get 5 listens, and then we get 10 listens. And I remember one time we got 100 listens. I don't know if that was, a month or 2. And that was like, oh my gosh, 100 people listening to our podcast. And that gave us some momentum. We were pretty excited about that. And that's just kind of how it started. I says, I'm going to talk about this stuff, but I'm going to make it audio. And he joined me, and we made sure that we sounded good. I bought a whole bunch of equipment, and he bought some equipment. So we wanted to sound good because there's, so many podcasts out there. I used to listen to so many video game podcasts, and it would, people just sounded terrible. There were like 6 guys in a room with one microphone, and all they did was laugh. And it's like, he couldn't hear anybody. It was distorted. It's like, so we got to sound good. So we made sure that we sounded good, and I edited it down, and, I got some professional software to use to make it sound a little better. And that's just kind of how it started. It was just, I asked him, you want to join me? And he's like, sure. He didn't think he'd be around 6 or 7 years. And I think he told you that too. I think. He did. He did. It says, I'll do a couple episodes to get you off the ground. But I think he was having fun. Yeah. And I think he was talking about something he wanted to talk about. And, he enjoys talking about those things. And we just clicked. It just happened. There's a guy I broadcast hockey with from time to time. And I think we started broadcasting in like 2009, 2010. And I would do the play-by-play, and he would do the color. And we just gelled instantly. And every now and then we'll get together and I won't see him for years, and we'll get together and do a game. And we never missed a beat. We really didn't. And then when Ron came back for episode 300, I think it was last week, it was just like we never left. I mean, we just are just in sync when we do the show. We know when to talk, when to not talk, when to add, when not to add. And that developed over time with him. But it clicked pretty instantly, with him. And that way it was so easy to do a show with him. That's why I just, every week for 6 years was, no problem at all.
Yeah, when I first started listening, when somebody pointed it out to me, I was like, wow, these two guys. The first thought I had, and I don't know what episode I first turned into, but my first thought was how professional you guys were. Professional meaning like you guys just were like you had everything you wanted to talk about. There was no pauses. There was no searching for your topics. You guys were on topic all the time. You guys were always talking about what was going on in the hobby, which was what brought me all the time. I can't speak for everyone, but that's what brought me back. Was you guys were always on top of all the new stuff and everything going on. But you guys were basically Madden and Summerall, the way you guys clicked, and it just was like, wow. I mean, Ron would have his little shtick every once in a while, and then you would have a shtick every once in a while, but then you were professional and just trying to move the show along. And then sometimes he was, the two of you guys both knew when to push the show along. And I think that's extremely rare from all the stuff you see out there, even now, that you guys were able to do. What was harder, starting that show or getting it to 300?
Starting, I'd say, was fairly simple because I had been doing podcasts for a long time and I already had most of the equipment that I needed. I just needed better equipment. So I kind of knew what to do and how to do it. Okay. So I didn't have to really learn anything new. In fact, I was the one that on the video game podcast, I was the one that told them about Spreaker and then told them about StreamYard. And so right before I ended with them, we were transitioning from whatever they were using. And so we were already using the stuff that we have now. And so for me, setting it up wasn't too bad. It's just, can we talk about something and are people going to listen? Are they going to enjoy what we're doing? How's the show going to sound? You never know how that's going to go. Excuse me. So setting it up, because I had already come from a podcast, that wasn't a very difficult leap for me at all, because I just had to change topics is what I had to do. Right. Getting it to 300, yeah, because it's again, it's not quite weekly, but we try to go weekly. Out of the 52 weeks, we probably got 48 to 50 shows a year in. Some took more research than others. Sometimes it's getting a guest. Sometimes, we get guests on and their internet was terrible. We couldn't hear them. There was echoes and delays. So we ran into a lot of issues like that. So getting it to 300 between starting and getting to 300 is the hardest because it's consistency. Mm-hmm. And there's so many times that I listen to a lot of, again, video game podcasts when I was video gaming, and I used to listen to 10 or 12 shows, and one by one they would just disappear, or they wouldn't do a show for 2 months because life gets in the way. Right. And it's really, really hard to stay consistent. And that's the one thing we did. We stayed consistent, and somehow after 300 episodes, we still find things to talk about.
I know. It's just incredible.
I used to have a list over here, and I used to, during the week, I'd be writing things down. And then so I'd pull out the list that says, what do you think? Here's the topics I got. What do you want to talk about? And then, one by one, that list was gone. After after a few months, and then now, and then we would just, what's going on in the community, and that was the fun thing. Is something would happen in the community, a game gets released for a new season, or something going on, something good, I should say. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Or we have Digital Diamond. We had a Mark on, and he's that's when you did the manual entry. And that was a big deal for us. We had him on. It's oh man, that was great. Let's talk about that, And so, and then I think Ron was the one that said, if we hadn't we'd done the show so long that Ron said, all right, new rule. If we haven't talked about it in 2 years, we can talk about it again.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because things have changed. Sure.
Yeah. Just because, again, there's only so many things you can talk about, really. Right. And sometimes we do a deeper dive, and sometimes we take a different angle at it. But, but I remember him saying this, well, geez, Ron, we're going to talk about it. He's like, well, I go, how about this? He goes, well, I know we talked about it, but when? He goes, if it's over 2 years, I say we can talk about it again. And so that was the rule. And imagine that we've been doing a show so long that we're going to talk about something we haven't talked about in 2 years.
That's a good problem to have, right?
It was.
That's crazy. Did you ever get to a point where you just said, this is it. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I got so much going on in life, so much with my job. blah, 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 that, this has had a nice run. I'm done. You ever feel that way? I mean, obviously you never acted on it because you guys are well past 300 now, but I mean, did it just hit you sometimes like, I can't do this anymore? There's so much involved in this.
I don't think I ever thought about stopping because this is my creative outlet, and
Okay.
I enjoy this and I enjoy what I'm talking about. If I was talking something controversial or something that I wasn't into, then I can stop at any time and say the heck with it, So I come here. This is my release from the world. Is I come on here, whether it's on YouTube or it's on the podcast, and I make this my happy place, and anybody joining me has to be in their happy place when we do this. And that's why I try to have a fun time with it. So I like to keep as long as I'm having fun, I want to keep doing it. There were a handful of times that we had like some negative feedback come in, like one after another, like 2 or 3 emails in a row. And it's just like, okay, are we doing something wrong here? Is it time to wrap it up? I mean, or is this just, wine bags out there just being the internet? And there was and again, we got a ton of positive feedback, so that kept you going. But again, the negative ones, it's just like, oh, well, okay, is it time to end this? Have we got to the end? So there was a couple of times that it would just kind of happen in like a clump. Like out of the blue, we'd get, a couple of negative comments and a negative email or something. It's just like, wow, it's like, what's going on
Where did
here?
that come from?
Yeah. And so that happened. Oh, there's only a couple of times that happened,
Right.
But it just, again, you just take pause and you're like, well, what do you think, Ron? Should we stop this? I mean, are people not liking this, or is this just, individuals just having a bad day and wanting everybody else to have a bad day,
Yeah,
And so,
there's too many of those.
yeah, so that's kind of how we went on with it. We just, we tried not to let anybody, rain on our parade, because as we get through the years, more and more people look forward to listening to the show.
Absolutely.
And so that's what kept us going.
And I'm sure you saw that, like when you logged in, you saw how many people were waiting, blah, 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 that I'm sure that grew, and that had to feel good that, hey, I've got this core audience, if you will, that's, obviously they're not pissed because they're listening in. So, but it's hard. I can imagine that it's hard. 10, one bad email can knock out 50 good ones.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a perfectionist and trying to do something, and something that you're passionate about, like you're so passionate about this, that one thing is like, like you said, I'm sure you look at it from a, what are we doing wrong? But, you're also like, well, God, I can't please everybody, you know, and it just, that's gotta be tough.
Yeah.
When you look back at show 1 and show 300, how has Dave changed?
My gaming has changed, because I've done more of it. And I've, back when I was first starting, there's things that I liked and things that I didn't like. And now that I've played tons more games, more sports and everything else, my gaming is different. What I like is different. Obviously, I still have my favorites, but I mean, I think probably for the first 100 episodes, I didn't like long play games.
Okay.
And now hours and play a tabletop football game for 2 or 3 hours and love every minute of it. Whereas, back the first 100 episodes, it was, anything over a half hour, forget it.
Yeah.
So I think Ron and I call it maturing as a gamer.
Okay.
Maturing as a gamer. So now you're more open to suggestions, and that's the other thing. People suggest a game, and I check it out. And I'll be like, "Well, it's not a hockey game. I ain't playing it." Well, but now I'm open to trying some things out, and I like trying new games. And you never know what you're gonna find. And I was talking to somebody the other day. I forget who it was, and I says, if I had never, moved away from this game, I wouldn't have found this game. And if I didn't move away from this game, I wouldn't have found this game. And every time you move on, you find a new game. It's, oh, this is great. So I'm kind of glad that I matured as a gamer, I guess.
How does it make you feel when you hear people say, and I know I've said this several times on many different Facebook sites about you, is when you hear, I just bought the game. Thanks a lot, Dave Gardner. People watched your show, your and Ron's show, and you guys would, and I know you guys did your absolute best to always stay neutral to stuff. You were just showing what was on, and this isn't my favorite game or whatever. But, some of that stuff comes through in the passion of, when you get into it. But when you see that, hey, this person says, I bought the game, like I bought Stone Cold Hockey because of you. You were just having so much fun with that. I was like, I got to get that. And so when you hear that, how does it make you feel?
Well, when I like a game, you can tell.
Yeah.
And it comes through on the podcast and comes through on YouTube. And I like to share that joy. And that's what the whole beginning of the podcast and even the YouTube channel is about, sharing the joy that I'm having in these games. And when someone says, boy, I saw that game, I'm trying, I love it too. That's great, because I'm sharing that with you. And now you get to share that joy with me of this game,
Right.
and so it's great. And, when I first started playing the games, I found people online that did videos, and they helped me. And it's like, well, if I can get a game and learn how to play it, I want to do that too. I want to share it with somebody, because people shared it and I learned a game. So now I want to share it with somebody else. And I enjoy doing that. I enjoy, if I find a game that's really great, or even a game that's not really great, I like to share it and say, sometimes there's not a lot of videos or any videos about a certain game. And it's like, I've never seen this game. What does this even look like?
Right.
And so if I can get it on the channel and just say, look, here's what it looks like. I might not be playing it correctly because I just got it, but if you want to know what it looks like, here's what it is. Here's what the cards look like. Here's how this, is it fast action card? Is it dice? What is it? And I like to give you an idea on how the game plays. And then from there, you can decide if you want to go and buy it or not.
Yeah.
And so I like sharing that joy. And, and sometimes people say, yeah, that's not the game for me. It's like, oh, then it might not be,
Right. Absolutely. The other one was Hockey Bones. I was so scared to touch that because it looked so complicated.
Yep.
And you did a video, and I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And so I went out and I bought it, and those cards were so nice from, and it's not Game Crafter, it's the other
drive-through
cards. Drive-through
yep.
cards. And I was like, man, these cards are payoff pitch quality, if you will. They are so nice. And I fell in love with that game. And like you said, it is one of those ones you're going to set down well over an hour to play a game, but it just feels intense when you're playing that one. And that was one of those ones where I could tell you had to pay a little extra attention when you were broadcasting to try and stay within the game, because it's complicated. At least that's my thought.
It's a thinking game. And I got to give credit to Hockey Unreal or Patch 83, which whatever channel he goes by now. He kept playing it, and I would comment like, this game's too complicated. He's like, Dave, try the game. It's like, I got the manual. It's so long. Dave, try He wouldn't let up. He wouldn't let up. And finally one day I said, okay, I think it was during the summer and I had a few days off. I says, I'm going to take the rule book upstairs and I'm going to read it cover to cover, because again, it's like a phone book. You're like, oh my gosh, And so when I started reading it, I was like, something, this really is not that hard. There's symbols on the card, and the symbols tell you what it is, or it's a number on the card. And I was like, this is really not that bad. And I read the rule book and I was like, I'm giving this a try. And I sat down and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not hard at all. I mean, you got to think, you're doing quick math. When the left wing gets the puck, he's going up against these three guys. So you got to figure out what the numbers are. If he beats the number, he gets a shot on net. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. But it was like, wow, that game just looks so complicated. And but he kept telling me, like I said, Hockey Unreal is like, Dave, stick with it. You're gonna love it. And I finally gave it a shot. I gave it a fair shot though, because I would like flick through the rule book while I'm down here. It's like, So I said, I'm gonna give it a fair shot. And I think you have to do that with some games.
Yes.
I don't know about you. I play a ton of games, as you know. You see on my channel when I talk. So I'm always jumping in and jumping out. And sometimes I'm throwing a game on a table and in 5 minutes it doesn't work. I'm like, that's out of here, But if I really give it a fair shot, and I like to do that whenever I can, and I gave that game a fair shot, and it was awesome. It was just like, wow, this is great. And the great thing about the Hockey Bones is, again, the drive-through cards. Those cards, they're playing cards. They're coded, so nice. They're awesome. And Hockey Bones, you get everyone.
Yes, that's such a big deal to me.
It is a big deal to me. Yeah. And I like to ask people that too. Is that a big deal to you? And some people it is. And some people it's a deal breaker. It's not a deal breaker for me, but if I have my choice between game A and game B, and game B has everyone, I'm going game B. And one of the things I was doing for a while, I was finding goalies that played very rarely.
I remember this.
And I played the game. I think it was Loisel was his name. 18 years old. was he playing for Winnipeg or Quebec or something like that? And he got shelled. He played one game late in the season. I think he gave up like 10 goals, the poor kid. And I did the Loisel game, and he actually won it on my channel. And that's something that you can't do with any other game because nobody would have this goalie who played one game.
Yes. I just, for me, I think it all comes back from, as I started out coming back into this, I played as a kid and then came back when I was in my late 40s. And I've always been a replay guy. So I'm an as played replay guy. So I need every player. Because that guy may have only played opening day and never played the rest of the year. I need him in that lineup for my opening day game. And I don't want a little sticker or something or a PDF on it. I need the card.
You don't feel complete. If you're missing one, I know I can put anybody in. I had that guy. There was a guy, I played the Bruins and the Whalers one year. And then they had a guy on the Whalers that played one game. He played opening day against Boston, and that was it. And he got a ton of penalties. So I played. He played in my game. He got a ton of penalties, and then I'll never use him again.
Right.
But you're right. It's like I wanted him in there because that's who played in the game. Yeah. And I really like that. I mean, could I get by without him? Absolutely. Yes. Could I play that in APA because he's not in APA? Yeah, I could play it in APA. But just to know that I have the option of playing these fringe guys, again, I don't feel complete sometimes unless I have everybody in there.
I agree. And in some cases, I actually watched that game, and so I know who that guy is. Maybe he's even a French player. I still know who that is, and so I want him in there. And it just is part of the season. It makes me feel like I'm the manager going through that. So, yeah.
Well, the other thing, too, is when you don't have those guys in there and then you put in, whoever else, right, that's going to skew some of the stats. Because whatever that guy was on the ice for, now someone else is on the ice that shouldn't have been on the ice, or at bat, or whatever game you're playing. Right. Someone else is getting stats in a game that he shouldn't have got stats in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, it's probably not a ton of stats, and it's not going to wreck anything. But it's just the idea that it's like, that's the guy who should have been in there, not this guy. If this guy goes in and he scores a goal, well, that's a goal he shouldn't have had.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what if that ruins a 10-game hitting streak that you ended up playing the guy, or just something weird? I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's not authentic. If you're doing it as played replay, it's not authentic if you don't have guys who are on the field, the ice, the court, whatever.
Yep. That's why when I don't know about you, but when I choose to do an as played replay, and I got a couple going right now, one of them is with Hockey Bones because I have everybody. And the baseball one is payoff pitch because they have everybody. Now obviously, Strat PC has everybody. So if you wanted to do Strat PC, you could do it that way. But I like I said, so I use those two games because I know everyone's going to be in there, and I don't even have to worry about it.
Absolutely. Going back real quick to the show, is there one episode that you took off the headphones afterwards and went, "Damn, that was important. What we just did was important for the hobby"? And I know I'm putting you on the spot there, but thinking of 300 episodes, that there was this one time you took off those headphones, maybe you even went to the wife and said, "Damn, we just had this really awesome episode."
I would say it's the opposite of that. There's times that we did a show and it's like, wow, that was a really good show, and we didn't get the numbers. And there's other times we've done a show and we signed off and we wrapped it up, and I looked at him, he looked at me and says, "Wow, it sucked." And I said, "Should I even release this show?" Just whatever it was. I don't know if we were tired or if, sometimes the topic just didn't go over well or whatever it was. We thought we could do a good show, and for whatever reason, it just didn't come across as a good show to us. And those turned out to be some of our most popular shows. And I remember I would call him up and say, "Can you believe how many people have watched this show that we thought was terrible?" You just never know what's going to strike a chord with somebody. And so, we're in it, so we're doing it. We don't know. But from the outside, somebody listening in was just like, well, it struck a chord with enough people. And for us, we thought we've recorded a handful of bad shows, and they turned out to be our most popular ones.
Wow. Yeah. You just never know, right? I mean, it's almost like a musician, you guys are artists. So if you think about it and you hear that a lot from like musicians that we put out this song and we didn't think Stairway to Heaven was going to be anything. biggest song of all time, because it just
look
struck
at
a chord with
Paranoid
everybody.
with Black Sabbath. They needed
exactly.
We got some more space on the album. They wrote a song in 10 minutes called Paranoid. It's probably the most popular song.
Exactly. You just never know what's going to, like you said, strike a chord. You just, it just happened to hit the right people at the right time. How would you say the hobby has changed since episode 1?
I would say there's a lot more people developing games. I think there's actually more people playing it. I think there's more people playing it that are discovering that more people are playing it, and again, we still get emails from people saying, hey, I just discovered your show. I had no idea there was a podcast about this stuff. And I had no idea other people were playing it, that were playing, the games I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the big things that I think people are discovering other people. I think the conventions help, when people,
Absolutely.
Get together at those things. Sharing our stuff on social media, Facebook and Delphi is a big help too, because you can see what other people are playing. And I draw a lot of my inspiration from that. I'll look up and I'll say, hey, this guy's playing this. Oh, I think I want to play that. That looks kind of fun,
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that, there's more games being developed. It's not the same old anymore. You got a lot more choices out there. And I like to see that, there's more seasons being created for some of these games too. So I do like that. Ron and I on episode 300, we talked about the PC changes, because he does mostly PC,
Mm-hmm.
and you're seeing a lot of the computer programs now doing the manual entry stuff, so you can play cards and dice and put stuff in it. So now I think there's 3 or 4 baseball games that do that now, and I love that the Action PC basketball does it, because I'll play the bank shot basketball and I'll log in the stats with that. It is beautiful. And I really can't wait for the football. I want to start logging in some stats when I play my full play football games. And I'm hoping Action PC will do that. So that's the other big changes, is that changes to the computer games as well.
Yeah, I call that hybrid gaming. So you're playing on the desktop, but yet you're putting your entry into your stat. Thing generally. And actually, Mike and I had a really good talk about this last night, because there was a big talk about this on the play forum groups about one individual said, if you're playing on Digital Diamond, or you're playing on Action PC, or any of those, Replay Baseball has it, Replay Basketball, if you're using real players, then generally those programs are pulling from Basketball Reference, Baseball Reference, whatever. So there's not really anything you need to do. It's all there for you, unless you want to enter some defensive stats or something like that, or ratings. But when one of the things that's really popular with play is their fictional games, Baseball America, XHL, all these different sports, right? So that, as Mike will tell you, took him an entire week to put in, the leap set into Mike Ignikowski's Green Fox that he uses that tool. That took him a week. And so what I had suggested on the play forums was, maybe we can get to a point where devs who release fictional players can release a CSV file that has all the player names and positions. That's not, I'm not asking for your engine. I'm just asking for the player names, because this takes us, Mike put over 3,000 players into his system.
Oh, wow. Holy cow. Yeah.
And so that took him a week. And so there's something special about that. All that is actually stopping Mike from getting to play the game he just bought and is excited to get started on. So I put that out there and got a lot of pushback, that it was jumping into the devs, kind of stuff. And I just wonder what you think about that, because as you just said, I think this is kind of maybe the new way a lot of people are going to do this. And if they want to do any type of, Baseball America or any of those type of things, Ian Brook has started he's got fictional players that he released. Being able to get that list, I think, could get people to be playing the game faster. I just wonder what you thought. Is that going to be something we're going to start to ask of our developers?
First off, I wouldn't want to take away that joy of letting Mike input 3,000 fictional players into a spreadsheet. I would hate to take that away from Mike, because I know that's something he really enjoys as much as slipping on ice when he's shoveling. Okay, so
Mike, I know you
I'm
are.
not going to be the one to tell Mike he doesn't have to do that anymore. All right. But I think if you're something like that, again, if you're asking more from a developer to do more work on something, I don't think that's fair.
Okay.
Because they've done enough work on their game, they're providing the joy for you. So to say, hey, we need you to do more, I don't think that's really right or fair to ask. But if it's just, hey, if you have a file with these guys' names that we could just drop into a program, like if you just have a master file of these fictional names, if that's something that's not too difficult, I don't think that's a big ask.
Okay.
So I guess that would be my things. It depends how much work it is for somebody to do that. Because I know that using CSVs and databases, stuff can be moved around fairly quickly compared to one at a time type of thing. So I guess it all depends on how easy that task would be. If it's something like, yeah, sure, I have it right here, let me zip it off, or it's like, well, this is going to take me a week, like Mike, to input one at a time. Those guys, that's a tough ask.
Do you feel that? I agree with you 100%. And the last thing I ever want to do, I've always said this, I never want to take a dime out of a developer's pocket, because what they do is what we love. And I want to keep them doing that, and keep providing us seasons and everything. And I also don't want to take their time, because that's as valuable to them as the money that they make. So I agree with you. I would assume, I'm just, being a tech guy myself, that they do have these CSV files and they are available. I think the question in the forum becomes, are those names proprietary?
With the professional players, you can't really.
No, I don't think anybody thinks from the professional side. Plus, like I said, those are all there.
Names, I don't know what you can do about names. I mean, there's a little loophole there for all these companies to make the names of the professional guys that can't get in trouble over, because it's a name.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you were to create a bunch of names, or I created a bunch of names and someone took them, it would be awkward. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine it would be okay, just like it would be, you're using all the Red Sox names or all the, the Yankees names in your game. I mean, that's, so if you created names, I don't know if they could be used or not, but I think if everybody just is on the same page, that's the thing. If nobody feels like they're getting ripped off and nobody feels like they're stealing, if everybody can come to a consensus, like, look, I'm not trying to steal your names, but we're using your game and your players because we like that. We bought your game and we would like to create stats with that. I don't see why anybody would have a problem with that.
I agree. I think it's more of an education thing to say, these guys are heads down and they don't know always what the gaming community is doing with their product, and to educate them and say, like you just said, perfectly said, which is, hey, I'm having a blast with your Baseball America, but I like to use Digital Diamond. And also educate to say, do you realize that takes me an entire week to get all those names in the system?
Yeah.
So if there's any way you could help, that would be fantastic. I think you're, every request by anybody for anything is all about how you ask it. And so if we're going demanding, you're going to run into problems.
I would think
educating, I think it could be done.
Oh, maybe you could even cut the baby in half. One of these type of things where, if you had 3,000 guys, and, whoever made the game, whatever game it was, and said, look, guys, I don't have the time to do that. But if you can find some guys, I will gladly email you the names. And if you guys want to put them in a spreadsheet or a CSV or a database for me, for everybody,
yeah.
And I know that a lot of the especially the smaller developers, they work with a lot of, people who play the games, and they get a lot of help from them. They test the games, and they'll, anything you need from me, we'll do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they could find 5 or 6 guys. Yeah, give me 500 guys, and I'll put them in over here. You put in that 500, you put in this 500, and then we're all done.
Yeah.
And I think that would work.
Absolutely. I think I just think it's going to be something that's going to start to be requested, because I think so many people are going to move forward with fictional / the hybrid play. I think it's going to start to happen. So that would just make it even better. Just make it better for everybody else.
But I can say, though, and I probably can speak for Ron a little bit too, is we used to get flooded with requests, and I still do, where it's like, hey, I saw you playing this game. Can you help me out? Can you send me the spreadsheet? Can you send me this? Where did you get that? How did you input the pictures in here? We get flooded with that stuff. And again, we don't mind helping people out, but because we put ourselves out there, and I know when I do something, hey, how do you do that? You want to learn, I get it. And some people are cool about it, and some people like, I wrote you 2 days ago. How come you didn't get back to me with that? And it's like, I work.
Jeez.
My wife's in the hospital. I'm shoveling snow. I mean, any other excuses I can give you? Sorry, I didn't get back to you to give you something free, that you didn't want to Google,
Yeah.
But I try to, I try to help as many people as I can. Like
Yeah.
those APA spreadsheets that Keith made and sent me. I'm sending those out, 5 or 10 times a week. I'll get emails. Hey, can you send me the APA stuff? Zip it off. Hey, can you send me the hockey bone stuff? Send it off, and that's what most of my emails are.
Yeah.
I'll take those over complaints.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, there are times it's like, man, I get like 10 emails here of people looking for something. And it can be kind of daunting. It can be, because it's like, oh man, just,
people don't realize this isn't your full-time job.
Yeah, this is something I do for fun. This is a fun thing that I do in my spare time. And I work this time of year, I work every single day, 7 days a week. I work somewhere, somehow. And I try to slip in time to do the show and do some videos. And when I can get to all this extra stuff, I try to get to it, And some people thank you. Some people you never hear from again. You send them what they want, and they can't even say thank you. It's like, but something, I continue to do it. Yeah.
Well, that's the guy you are. You mentioned earlier that in the beginning that you were a video gamer, and then now you're a C&D'er, if you will. Looking at the hobby as a whole between those two, I'm sure there's some crossover of people who do both, but is there a big difference between those two hobbies, the people within the hobbies?
Yeah, I would say the video game people are much younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're a lot more demanding because they don't know much about business at this point, whereas we're older. So we've probably seen some more things, with business. Like we know how hard people are working on games. And it's like, oh man, when are you coming out with this season? Well, they're working every night on something, you know what I mean? Whereas, the video game group, they'll vote EA Sports the worst company in the world, but yet they'll all go buy Madden every year.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how the video game people are. Oh, this game's the worst, and it sold 20 million copies, but you guys still hate it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's younger people that don't quite know what it takes. I feel like I'm a lot more forgiving than I was when I was younger when it comes to certain things. Like even now when I go to Dunkin' Donuts or I go to a restaurant and they get the order wrong or whatever it is, it's like, well, they're probably a little stressed out right now. And back in the day, be like, this my coffee's wrong. You know what I mean? But now you're older, you're like, hey,
yes.
This is wrong. Can you just kind of swap it up for the right one? And you treat them nicely, and you get just things taken care of instead of like flipping out like you would be when you're young. This is wrong, So I think it's a younger group. I think they're spoiled. I think the game people are spoiled. I grew up with Atari. It was a block. That was my character. It was a block. And nowadays they're complaining because they don't have enough shades of green in the hair or something like that. So I think they've been spoiled, but that's what they grew up with. So they don't know anymore. So I think they're a lot more whiny when it comes to things like that.
Okay. When if there's one thing you would want to have instilled upon people after 300 shows about this hobby, or if you wanted someone to just take away something from all your shows, what would it be?
To enjoy it. Enjoy what we're doing. Enjoy the games. Enjoy playing. Let people play the way they want to play, and you play the way you want to play. Stop worrying about people making mistakes and doing things that are wrong. Enjoy it. This is so fun. This is so fun. I have so much fun with this. I've actually gone back and I played a little bit of video games over the last couple of months. I got the itch to play some of these adventure games I used to play. And I'm running around in the jungle and I'm getting killed by a tiger. And I'm like, and I'm getting all worked up about it. I took 10 minutes to walk across a map and I get killed by a tiger. I don't have any of those moments when I play here. 99% of what I do is enjoyable. Yeah, occasionally if the Boston team blows a lead, I get mad or whatever, but everything I do on the table is so fun. And when I see people getting upset at other people or people like bickering with other people, it's like, guys, this is fun.
Mhm.
This is awesome. Why are we arguing? Why are we complaining? Why are we even getting on anybody's case? This is so fun. We all should be just talking about how fun it is. So,
Right.
and we've tried to do that, for the 300. Actually, we just released 301 last night. So for 301 episodes, we try to take the positive look at the hobby, and some people don't like that. Some people are like, well, why don't you ever talk bad about this or that or the other? Why would I? Why
What
would
are you gonna
I?
gain from that?
I'm here to talk about how much fun I'm having, and I'm not going to talk about the bad things because that's not fun.
Right.
So let's talk about having fun here because this is so fun, and let's enjoy each other's games. And if someone has something good happen, hey, dude, that's awesome, and if I have something good, Dave, that was great. I've had so many fun moments on my table. Some I captured live on YouTube, and people got to share in those moments, and that's why we do the show.
I have to say, Dave, the one thing that you did that I had never seen anywhere else, and I don't even think it was part of the digital to dice. It's just, because you always have your own little one-off, pop the video on. I'm going to play X game right now. And the one thing you did is you made it okay not to play perfect. And not only did you say it's okay not to play the game perfect, is that I'm even going to show you, I'm going to open my world to everybody and show you the game, show me rolling the dice. So many people are scared to do that, still are. But you would say, yeah, I'm open up. Yeah, I might have read that wrong off the book, or I might have interpreted that wrong. I don't care. I'm having fun playing the game. Here's the end result. And I think you made that okay. And for everybody. And so thank you for doing that, because I really believe that that's one of the big things I took.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it's almost like stage fright. And I talk to a lot of people who want to do it, and they're like, I'll never do it because I don't want people yelling at me if I make mistakes. And let me tell you, when the camera's on and you're checking the levels over here and you're making sure the camera's working and the chat's on, you're distracted. And when sometimes you play these, as you said, you're playing hockey bones. That's a game you got to really focus. And sometimes, you get distracted. Someone in the chat says something, you start chatting, you come back and say, oh boy, did I roll this dice? Did I roll the dice or not for this guy? I don't even remember. You know what I mean? It's like, and there's been times that I've batted the same team. I top of the fifth. Did the top of the fifth twice, and I didn't do the bottom of the fifth. No. And people are scared of that because they're gonna get crap for it. And I get people that'll not so much recently, but in the past they'd sat and they watched the whole game, and they'll tell me what I did wrong in the game.
Yeah, I've had that.
And it's just, and I'd say, look, I'm having fun. Whatever I'm doing, I'm having a good time. And if I want to roll the dice and flip the dice over manually to strike out every time a Yankee comes to the bat and the Red Sox are playing them, that's what I'm going to do. Right. You know what I mean? And that's fun for me, So obviously I don't do that, but I mean, I make mistakes all the time.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And just, you just got to move on with it. And I think we've done shows like, what do you do when you make mistakes? And everyone just kind of agrees. It's like, well, the referees blew the call, or the umpire blew the call. And it happens in real sports. I mean, how many times we watch games? It's like, wow, how did they miss that? There's all these referees out there. Well, they did. Yeah. And so sometimes it's like, well, I already rolled the dice. Maybe I didn't. I forget now, or whatever. That's why the computer games are great, because they never let you forget. But on the tabletop, when you're filming yourself, I never quite thought about that. Yeah, I just do it. And it's just, if you want to jump on me and screwed it all up and I wrecked your night, didn't wreck my night. I'm playing and having fun. And there's been times I played APA and I read it the wrong way. I rolled a 4-1. I read 1-4. I'm distracted. I'm talking to the chat, it's got something going on. I read it wrong. It happens. It just happens. And the other thing is, if you keep doing it wrong, though, that can screw people up, because sometimes people are trying to learn the game, and they're watching you intently. And I've done that too. And I've watched games like, wait a sec. There's no way that if he rolled that is this. Now I'm confused. So I get, you want to be right, because people sometimes are watching you play to learn the game.
That's a great point.
Sometimes I will say, look, here's a video on how to play it, and I better be damn sure I know what I'm doing here, because I'm putting myself out there as teaching you this game. I don't do that as much as I used to, but once in a while I still do. I think I did one for Grant's Highlight Hockey, and I was pretty confident in what I was doing when I showed that one off. And there's been other times I said, look, here's how you do this here. Most of the time, though, I say, look, I'm playing this game here. I might make some mistakes. I might read something wrong. I might screw something up, but I'm just going to have fun. And like I said before, you'll have a general idea on how this game is played by watching this video.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
fantastic point. I had never really thought about it that way because, you're right. There is a difference between just, hey, I'm going to play these two teams, enjoy, and hey, I'm going to show you how to do hockey bones. That you're right. If you read that dice wrong, I'm going to start scratching my head going, what is Dave doing? I'm lost here now. So that's I never really thought about that perspective of it. But like you said, it's all about the introduction, though, prior to starting what the intent of the video is. Are you just having fun playing a couple of teams, or are you trying to do an intro video to a game? So I think they make a big difference. Is there do you feel any responsibility having a show that's so popular amongst everybody? Do you feel like a weight on your shoulders at all? Like you've got to put out something all the time because it's digital to dice and it's so famous? Does that weigh on you, or did I just put the weight on you?
Sometimes I still approach it as something I enjoy doing.
Uh-huh.
And one of the rules that we had in the beginning, Ron had a rule, and the rule was that we need to do timeless episodes. He didn't want to do a lot of current events. We have done some, like the Black Friday show and things like that. But he says, Dave, if we're going to do this, I want to do shows that people can go back and listen to in 6 months or a year, or even 2 years, and get some value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I did the video game show, it was current news. So in 2 weeks, that show, no one's ever going to listen to that show again. So that was his rule. And my rule was, I don't want to feel pressured to do a show. If we're ready to do a show, we do it. If we skip a week, we skip 2 weeks. I don't want to ever have to be there at this time and feel like I have to be there, because then I'm not going to be in the right frame of mind to do the show. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm going to work. Like, you got to be here at 8. I got to be there at 9. We all have enough of that. This needs to be fun. It needs to be relaxing for me. Mm-hmm. And so that was my rule. And so that we kind of agreed with that. Now again, there are times that, one of us would step up and I don't really want to do it, but let's do it anyway, because there's never a perfect time, as you know.
Sure.
So that was my rule, is that I don't want to feel like I'm going to work. I want to kind of do this, when I'm ready to and talk about something. And, we usually did get one in every 7 to 10 days. It's so, every now and then I'd be like, yeah, we haven't done a show in a week. We need to do one. And so that would kind of weigh on me. And then, oh, Ron, come on, it's been 10 days. We need to get something out here so people don't forget about us. So,
right.
So there's been that.
Sure.
But for the most part, I enjoy it. I enjoy doing what we talk about here. And as long as I don't have to do something, I'm more apt to do it. And that's why, like, on the YouTube channel, I go on all different times. Some people have a set schedule. I don't have a set schedule because I don't know what my schedule is going to be.
Right.
Sometimes I have a night off. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's in the morning. Sometimes it's in the afternoon. Sometimes I get home from the rink and it's midnight and I go on. And it's just that's when it kind of works for me. And so there's no pressure. It's like, oh man, I missed my time tonight. No, it's midnight. I'm going to go on.
Right.
Or it's 4 p.m. I got time, looking around, not busy. I'm going to go on. So as long as I can keep the pressure off, for me, there's no weight on my shoulders about doing a show.
Great. You talked about, the negative stuff outweighing others. So let's talk about the positive. What type of message do you get in your inbox, or that you see maybe on the on YouTube page after a show that makes you just go, man, that was nice. That was nice what they said. Maybe made you feel like that was good. I did that show.
We've gotten some real heavy emails from people. Like, we've changed their life.
Wow.
Not gonna lie. There's been a lot of them where people like, I discovered your show. I was in a bad way in my life, and your show, listening to you talk about the games and how much you enjoyed them has really changed my outlook on things. And you guys got me through dark times, whether I was sick or whether it was a family member died or I lost a job. We got some really heavy emails from people, and like, you read them and you just start crying that,
wow,
that they're having a hard time, and whatever I'm doing here is helping them out, get through this time.
Wow.
Yeah. It's even now I get a little choked up thinking about it, because it's just, you wouldn't think we would have this effect on anybody. We're just talking games, but we did. And we got a lot of them. And we got some even in our first year. And it's like, wow, what's this? And we still get them nowadays where people go, hey, I'm going back and I'm listening from episode 1 and I'm listening all the way through again. And we still get that. We still get that. And that's because that was Ron's idea of not doing, timeless shows. He wants to do timeless shows. That was Ron's idea. Worked out great. And we still get that. So the real heavy, deep personal emails, they really affect me. They do. They get me right here. And just knowing that we've done that for people is nice. And then the other ones are kind of the more common emails, or the comments when we bring up a topic and all these people jump on and say, hey, I had that same thing too, or, oh, I can relate to this, or here's what I did. And everybody gets to chime in on the topic because it's something that they can relate to. And, a lot of people like myself, I can't go into the work at the rink and say, hey, guess what today? I rolled 266s back to back in my APA game.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I can come on here, with you or on Facebook or on Delphi and say, guys, you wouldn't believe it. I rolled back-to-back 66s for Ken Mocker, and he hit a home run on my channel. And you guys know what I mean. And so we can talk about that. And so that's what our show does in the YouTube channel to a lesser degree is people will comment on what we've talked about, and they feel like they're part of it because they are a part of it. And so we get a lot more of those. And that makes you feel good too, that, hey, good, we're all talking about this, because that's the idea behind the show is we want to start a conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you absolutely did. There was so much discussions in those groups during the show, not just, hey, how you doing? Which, by the way, I want to add that other piece. I want you to know that a majority of the people that I've met in the game, in the hobby industry, I met through your chat rooms in Digital Dice. I am real good friends with Tom Abbott. I'm real good friends with Mike. I'm real good friends. Basically, just about everybody I can think of that I'm real good friends with, that I talk with. Mike Gignikowski and I talk almost every Saturday.
Nice.
And met him through your chat room. It's amazing that you don't know that you've brought so many people together. And that is yet another kind of side thing that I don't think you realize how much you've impacted this hobby. Because that's a tremendous thing alone.
Yeah, it is kind of a meeting place, one of several meeting places in the community, whether it's, Facebook or whether it's on YouTube when we go live or the chats or something like that. But yeah, and that's why I like doing the YouTube chat sometimes. It just, and that's something I started willy-nilly. It's not a new concept coming on and talking in front of the camera by any means, but it's just talking about the community stuff here. And people sometimes just want to talk about that.
Yes.
And sometimes I have this stuff, and the show's great, like the weekly podcast is great, but sometimes I just get the itch and be like, something, this has been on my mind. Let me talk about this. And I come on and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? When you're playing, what do you think? And how do you handle this? And it just gives people the chance to come on here, and we're all sitting around having a beer and just kind of talking about it. And it's just loosey goosey and anything goes. And sometimes I'll come on with a thought, and then the chat room takes it over here, and we start talking about something else, and that's okay, because that's just where it goes. And sometimes we start talking about food, or we'll talk about something completely different than what we're talking about here. And as long as it's it's people are talking about it, we're just hanging out talking, and that's what makes it fun.
It's great because, a lot of us played this as kids, and, we played in the basement of our friend, or, because that's the way it was for me. And so we, like you said, we had kids, we could go back to school, or we're on summer break and go to the house and talk about it. What you provided was a place for us all to talk about it as adults now, because there's nobody here in Colorado Springs right next to me. I know there's a couple of people who do stuff here, but there's nobody here for me to sit and just talk about. Like you said, I rolled 2 6s yesterday. I have to page Mike or somebody, I have to hit them up and say, hey man, did you see me? I got a great story for you that I told him the other day. I'm playing this 80s tournament where I took I wanted to play more than just one game, one vendor. Right. I didn't just want to play, or just didn't want to play payoff pitch. And I've got 475 vendors in my closet, Dave. That's how crazy my thing is. And so I've got all these games, and I'm looking at them right now, and I've got all these baseball games, right? Everything from History Maker Baseball to Stratomatic to APA to Payoff Pitch, you name it, I got it. And I'm like, I'm not using any of them. I'm only using one at a time. And I said, so I'm going to do this 80s tournament where I take every team in the 1980s. And I sat down with Chat and we put together a kind of a European soccer, if you will, setup of divisions. So the worst teams in Division 4, and then if you win enough, you win. The top 12 teams got promoted to Division 3, so on and so forth, right? So all the way till we get to the Premier Division. Well, I'm playing a Division 3 game, and it's the first one, and it's Minnesota against Seattle. And it's 18-1 Minnesota, just a blowout. I'm texting Mike saying, man, this is crazy. Kirby Puckett hits for the cycle. One of the first times I've had a cycle in forever, right? And Mike and I have this thing where we talk about the dice no. And I'll get to that in a second. So I finished the game and I'm putting it in and I go to my spreadsheet to put it in and I go, oh, crap. Seattle didn't make it to Division 3. I played the wrong team. It was supposed to be against Detroit. I just had a cycle that doesn't count.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you still played the game.
I did,
So
but
it counts, but it's just in your tournament.
It's gone.
It was an exhibition game, yeah.
And so we laughed. But here's it. So then I immediately played the game that they were supposed to play against Detroit. And what does Kirby Puckett do? 0 for 6.
Oh.
And Mike, that's when Mike immediately sent me back a thing and said the dice knew,
Yeah.
and it's like you cheated or what? It's not cheating, but I screwed up and it's giving it to me. So it's just funny that you have those type of games. When you strip away the mic for you and you become just a gamer and you're not popping one on YouTube and Dave's sitting in his basement playing a game, what are you more likely to choose? What is it? A nostalgic game? Is it to play some kind of tournament you got going, a season? What are you going to grab?
I was just talking to the Replay Gamer about this last night. He joined me on the podcast, and I have a lot of seasons for a lot of different games. And what I like to do every now and then is just go pick a couple of random teams from a random season and play. Mm-hmm. And just to have the one-off, just so I can say that I played that season. Yep. Seriously, because like you said, you get all those teams. What am I going to do with it there? And it does bug me when I look and say, man, I have all these seasons and I haven't played some of these teams, and so I'm gonna play them. Whether it's Apper or Bones or Strat or Payoff Pitch, whatever it is, Bank Shot Basketball. I just want to get cards on the table, and then I feel better about the purchase I made because now I've used them. It's not like I just bought stuff for the wall. We were talking a little bit about collecting last night.
Yes.
We started talking about books. Like, you ever see, like I told him in the show last night, it says, you ever see those movies when people, like, they have the meeting in the study and there's like books everywhere. It's like, do you really read all those books? I mean, what are they?
For sure.
And it's just like, why do you have all these books in here? If you have a move that's going to, how are you going to move all those books, And so I don't want stuff just sitting there doing nothing. So every now and then I go play a game and I say, oh man, that was great. Just put these teams on the table. I don't care what the score is. I just want to get them on the table and play. So that's my goal this year, is to try to get more games on the table, more teams, more players on the table that maybe I haven't got on the table yet, before I start buying new things, because, I get on a roll. Oh, I'm going to buy this and buy that and buy this. And, and I have all these products in my head that I never started, but if I could at least get them on the table, I don't feel so bad about it.
That's yeah, absolutely. If your podcast ended tomorrow, what would you miss the most?
Talking about the games. That's my creative outlet, is using my podcasting skills and my voice and all the things that I do with that to create something that people enjoy listening to and that I like talking about. And, again, if everybody stopped listening tomorrow, I'd probably still do it because I enjoy talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It comes out, your passion for, not only just individual games, but just the whole hobby as itself. It's grown. I've seen it grown as you become more confident. And, like when you first started out, like you said, you were a hockey guy and you were being introduced to all these C&D games by Ron. You could feel your confidence growing up about the games and what you could talk about, from an educated perspective. And you started to become more and more baseball. You could see the baseball coming through. You could see your Tampa Bay Bucks 76 you coming through, and your football, and then I think the other thing that you've taught a lot of us is, I remember you went through that phase with APA where you absolutely could not stand it, to the point where you absolutely couldn't get it off your table. And it went through this. We grew with you and watched that happen. And I think that taught people that, if there's a game that you're not connecting with, you don't necessarily have to toss it in the corner.
Yep.
And so what would you tell somebody who's struggling with a game right now that they thought they were going to love? I mean, let's back up. When you bought APA, did you think you were going to love it? What was your thought process?
I had Tebow and APA chatter in the early days of the show. They sent me a whole bunch of APA stuff. It was the older games. I think they sent me baseball, football, and hockey. And I never did try the football, but I put the hockey on the table and I got it to work. I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I bought it. And then the baseball, I was like, okay, I get it. I got it to work. So then I bought some of that. And I was enjoying, and then I didn't enjoy it. It was just going through a phase where I had a hard time with it. And so I put it away. I even traded some of my APA baseball seasons, which I'm kind of regretting now, because I wish I'd kept them, because I'm going to probably buy them again. But I had that same thing happen with Hockey Blast. I put Hockey Blast on the table. I had a real hard time with it. I enjoyed it a little bit, but every now and then I called it like a game of Planko, and The Price is Right, when you drop the thing down with all the nails.
Yes.
And it's just like, you can drop it down, it goes over here. You can drop it down, it goes over here. And that depends on the type of game you get. And I had a real hard time with that. And I did a couple of funny videos on it too, where I would look at the camera and say, really? It's like, I just wasn't getting it. And so I put it away, and I went back to it, and I just couldn't get it. And then I ended up getting Hockey Blast Express, and I played that. And I said, let me try the full version, because the Express is kind of getting me back into it. And then I played the full version after that, and I didn't have any issues at all. I don't know what it was. But yeah, so I would, if someone's having a problem with the game, I would say, put it away for now. Don't get rid of it. Don't light it on fire. Just put it aside, because you never know when you're gonna watch somebody play it on YouTube or hear about it on a show. I have that game. Why didn't I like it? Let me pull it out and try it again, and maybe with a fresh attitude, or whatever's going on in your life is a little bit better, and you might like it. You might not. There's been a couple games I pulled out. It's like, why haven't I played this game? And I said, that's why I don't play this game. It does something that I just either don't understand or don't like. And it's like, that's why I don't play this one. But there's been times that I've gone back to games. I was like, oh man, this is fantastic. I really do like it. It's like, why didn't I like it 2 or 3 years ago that I do now? Again, maturing as a gamer.
Absolutely. Is there a game, not a game, is there, I noticed that you're a lot like me when it comes to the shiny new toy arrives, you start to play it, you really get into it, you play it a bunch. But then there are times where something comes in, you play it once or twice, you're like, this is okay, put it away. Is there something that is about any of these games that you're like, it catches your eye and makes you want to keep it on there? Or is there any specific game you even want to mention that you're like, man, this piece I'd never seen in hockey before, and so it kept it on my desktop for quite a long time?
I tend to, even when I played video games, if I found a game that worked for me, I would just play it forever. Yeah. That game, I've heard of a game called Skyrim. It's come out in 2011. It's an adventure game. And I probably have 500 hours in the Skyrim. In fact, I still play it today from time to time. It's just a wide open world. I enjoy it, and I couldn't stop playing it. And when I was on the video game podcast, 3 months later, they're like, okay, so what have you been playing, Dave? I'm like, Skyrim. It's like, okay, you can't keep coming on this show every week for 3 months talking about Skyrim. We need you to play something else. And it's like, I don't want to play anything else. This is all I'm enjoying right now. And I'll do that here, is I'll set something up, and I'll go through a phase where I'll play a ton of Hockey Bones, or a ton of app, or a ton of Payoff Pitch, or whatever it is. And even like Bank Shot Basketball, I got that last spring, and I couldn't stop playing that. That was on my table like every day, and I was streaming it every day. And And then all of a sudden, it's like you put it away and you pull out something else. And it's like, oh man, this is the best game. So my favorite game is the one that's on the table at the time.
Oh, that's a great answer.
That's kind of how it is. And I haven't played Bank Shot in I've only played one game in the last couple of months or so. And it's not because I don't like it. It's just because I have all these other great games that I'm playing. And I like to mix it up, especially because I'm, playing on YouTube, is that you can't just keep playing the same game over and over, at least on my channel. Some people are good at it. Ron's got the action PC. He's good at it,
Oh, he's great at it. Yeah.
Robert's got the inside pitch. He's good at it. That's what people go for. For me, people don't come here to watch one game. They want to see some different things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what you're known for. You're known for basically a developer's platform, if you will, to say, here's what's out there right now. Take a look at this one. And that's what we were missing in the entire hobby was, you're right. If you wanted APA, you went to this channel. If you wanted inside pitch, you went over here. But there was nowhere to go to just see new developers who didn't have a platform. And new games coming out, because those people were playing the same set they've been playing for forever. So it was nice to have that kind of stuff. In the end of all this, if you could only play, I always ask every guest this: if you could only play one game, you're on an island, you don't have that plethora of games behind you, Dave. You can only bring one with you. What are you bringing?
Well, that could change depending on the day that you ask me that, obviously.
Today, what would be that game that would come with you?
I think it would be APA football.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that there's something about that game that works for me. I mean, the whole APA system just works for me. It just, some people don't like the charts. I don't mind the charts. And I've had people say that and comment on videos. Oh, there's too many charts. Then you won't like APA.
Right.
Charts don't bother me. I like looking at a card, seeing what the number is, going to the chart, and it tells me exactly what happens. I like that. I think that's fun. And the APA football never disappoints me. It never does. It always does something in that game that's like, wow. And when I get done playing a game and it takes me well over 2 hours to play an APA football game, I felt every bit of that game. And it's such an awesome feeling. It really is. I feel it captures football very well. And I'm not saying other games don't.
Sure. Yeah.
But for my money,
it works.
When I have the cards on the table and I'm reading and I'm going to chart and I'm kicking off and I'm trying, it just works. I've had so many great APA football games, and I haven't played that many because it's a long game. And, it's hard to get on the table because it takes me a while to set it up because I do as played and I play out my cards. And if they're not on the team, I go find them from other teams. And I do it upright. And so, yeah, I think, and I've said this before, I think football is my favorite sport, I would think. Older football, maybe not so much today's football, but I grew up loving 70s and 80s football.
Yeah, me too.
I really did. And that's what I play a lot of. Obviously, hockey I enjoy. I was talking to Replay Gamer about this last night again on the show. And I says, because hockey's my sport, and that's why I work in hockey and I play hockey, not at a high level, but I still play it. I'm much more finicky and I'm much more critical about hockey games because hockey games can't do what you do in hockey games. There's no way they could. Right. Whereas baseball, it's pitcher on batter. Then what happens? Football, it's like, hey, I'm going to do a run. What happens? With hockey, well, basketball is possession too. You can move it around, but with hockey, it's that puck can change possessions 10 times in 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. And you just can't capture all of that in a hockey game. So you're forced to kind of say, okay, what happened during this 30 seconds? Let's find out. And that's how hockey's done. But with the football, you get every play. When you're playing a long play game, and there's 4 or 5 of these games I play, second season and season ticket and Solitaire Pro. I love all those full play games. And you just follow along with the 1-yard runs and then the penalties and then the big catches and then the fumbles and the interceptions. You get the entire football game in there when you play these games. Whereas as hockey, you don't because you can't. You just can't. So I prefer to play the football. And I really like that. Yeah. So I would say that the answer to your question, probably APA football or one of my long play football games.
That's awesome. I got to be honest. I would not have picked that for you. I would not have. I mean, I know you love that game, and I know I would have picked a hockey game. But now listening to you say that, it's like surgeon who doesn't want to come home and watch ER. You know,
Yeah.
you know, because
Or,
he can't
or
enjoy
even,
it.
or even worse than that, if a surgeon goes home and he's watching a medical show, he'd be like, no, that wouldn't happen. And
Right?
that wouldn't
We
happen. And
can't
that
enjoy the
wouldn't.
show.
Yeah.
He can't even
I
get into
remember
the story of
in
the show.
1986, I drove cross country to California. Okay. My friend was in the Air Force and he goes, we just got out of high school. He goes, can you drive my car out here so I can have a car? I'm going to be out here a while. So we did. We drove from, Boston to LA in this, 4-speed Ford Fiat or whatever it was. It was terrible. We went through the Rocky Mountains. Almost didn't get through the Rocky Mountains because we were going up hills and it didn't like hills. Then we went through the Mojave Desert and the thing was overheating, but we got it there. And while we were on his base hanging out with him, we went to the movie theater on the Air Force Base. And what was playing? It was an airplane movie. I think it might have been Top Gun or something like that.
Okay.
Whatever big airplane movie it was. And we went with all his Air Force buddies. Like, oh, that's not even loaded. Oh, that would never happen. That guy's not in the right place. They're picking apart these airplanes in this airplane movie because they're all the Air Force. And I'm just like, stop wrecking the movie. It looks pretty good to me. It's a fighter jet. No, that's an F-22, not an F-21. I don't know. So it's the same kind of thing with that, is that, being a hockey guy, it's, I'm not getting the full hockey experience in a tabletop because I just don't think you can.
Right.
I don't think you can. So I'm happy with what I have, and there's a lot of hockey games I play and whatever, but I think the football is the more fuller game for me. I feel like I've done a football game.
That's really cool. Yeah, I agree with that. It's a really good breakdown that I never thought about that. You can't. There's just no way to do that. Not to mention, I don't even think it would be interesting to, pass here, pass here, pass here, pass here, steal, pass. You've got to do the chunks, like you said, of what happened in this.
You have to,
seconds.
yeah. There's so much mundane stuff that happens in hockey. Yeah. And it was Ron that told me when I started playing strat hockey, that was the first long play game I played. And Bobby Orr kept turning the puck over. It's like lose to opponent or whatever was the thing was in the card. I'm like, Ron, what's going on here? Every time Bobby Orr gets the puck, he turns it over. And he's like, well, don't think of it like that. Think of it as that when the play started, Bobby Orr had the puck. And then at the end of those 40 seconds, all these different things happened. And now this guy has the puck. So maybe he passed it to Derek Sanderson and it went off his skate and then he got checked and the puck got flipped into the zone. And now, this guy has it for the Blackhawks.
Right.
So don't think of it as he just got it and just gave it away.
Right.
And that's when it all clicked for me. It's like, oh, so
change
all
the possession more.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like you're not watching it like a baseball game where you're watching the ground ball to short or you're watching the running back go the right side for 3 yards. It's like he's got the puck here in 40 seconds. Where is the puck? Is it in the net? Is it in the stands? Is there a penalty? And so he's not really turning it over. It's just now the other team has the puck at the end of that 40 seconds. And that's when it clicked for me. It really did.
Yeah. Like basketball. A steal is a steal or, a turnover is a turnover and you can feel that, but you can't have a turnover. You can have turnovers in hockey, but that's not what it's suggesting happened during that process.
Yeah, right.
But in our heads, we're seeing him with the puck, and now all of a sudden he flips it, and this guy grabbed it. Now he has it, and that's what was going through your head. How come he keeps giving it to the other team?
Yeah.
But no, I could see how you would have went through that. I'm sure I did too. And when I first started those games, that's crazy. Well, hey, I don't want to take up much more of your time. I know you got a lot going on with the snow outside and the family and stuff, but
did you have any more questions from some people? Or did you already ask them all?
No, I asked them. I threw them all in the middle there. So you never knew who it came from.
Okay.
You probably recognized at least one of them, I'm going to guess, but we'll leave it at that. Hey, I just want to thank you for coming on. And again, I want to just say how much I appreciate what you've done for the hobby, because you have no idea the friendships you've created all around this hobby, the confidence you've given people to play this hobby and normalize it, if you will, and make people feel really good about it. And that's all things that stand on your trophy of what you've done for this hobby. And we really appreciate it.
I appreciate that so much. And thanks for that. I think maybe because I'm somewhat new, I've only been doing it, maybe 10 years now. Mm-hmm. And so it's okay to try new things. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to play it your way. Right. It really is. And maybe that attitude, that whatever, maybe that helps some people. Maybe people were, really tense about, got to play it a certain way and whatever. And I'm like, no, something, let's just have fun with it. And it's been fun talking to a lot of developers too, since we've done the show. That's been a nice, perk of the show. And it's great talking to them. And when they all basically say, look, when you buy my game and you play my game, play it the way you want, because the idea is to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to play it this way, play it this way. And the only thing they ask is they say, if you change the rules or don't play by the rules for whatever reason, don't complain about the results you get. That's all they ask. If you want to play and your baseball games are 25-24 every night because you have certain things you do, and that's your fun, that's great, but don't complain that the scores are too high.
Absolutely. The second you put in a home rule, it's not their engine anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You've made an adjustment. That's why I try not to use home rules, but at times, for me, a home rule comes into play when I'm uncomfortable with whatever rule they might have, or they just didn't have one. For instance, History Maker Baseball, I cannot stand their lack of a stolen base system. It's just basically it comes off the chart, and either they stole and then there's one pickoff. And so ID Jester, to give him credit, created a really nice setup of that you use within the game to allow you to steal base runners, get them picked off, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole system that he created. And yes, at this point, now you've changed the engine that you're playing with. But so you can't sit there and yet complain, the 86 Red Sox suck because I didn't play. Well, that's because you used a whole different system. We've now changed the whole rules of it. And maybe it was small, but it could have had a big deal. You don't know. But that's the only time I try to do it. I try to stay within what the developers do. But I also want to add in, that's yet another thing you did that was so big, was bringing those developers on and humanizing them. They weren't, if you think about Strat and Appa, right? Because those were the two big games that were out there when this all first started. You guys brought on people that, and then we started to, understand their backgrounds and what they did. Why did they develop this game? What was their thought process? What audience are they attacking? That allowed us to kind of marry up with them and go, that's what I was looking for. That's the intention of a game that I want. And we would have never heard that without you guys talking to them. So that's yet another item you guys did. And now you hear it on every show, right? And Keith is on every show every week. It's crazy.
But that's good though, because we want to, let people know that these are people.
Yes.
And again, sometimes you just think of them as a company or this or that, the other thing. But when you see the person and maybe you have them on a chat and you can ask them a question and you realize, that they're not this evil corporation. They're generally playing games and making games that you would like and hopefully enjoy and get some fun out of it. And they'll tell you what they can and they can't do. Sometimes, oh, wow, why don't you do this? Well, this is why. Oh,
yeah.
And now you're not mad at them anymore because they told you, why and the reason why. And sometimes you never know. You never know, like, why did you do this or why didn't you do that? Because of this.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And whether you agree with them or not, at least they gave you a reason. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, now you walk away with that. If you think of some of the just the top ended things that people say is I'll just call one person out. Like Ian Brook in his game, it's expensive to buy. But I had Ian on my show, and Ian explained all that went into that. And so if you can hear, oh my God, he has an artist. By the way, the guy was homeless. I don't know if you know the whole story on that. It's amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a huge story that Ian told about this. I was just blown away. But all the stuff that goes into him creating the front and the back of that card, and then him basically telling everyone he barely makes anything off of these. He does it for the fun of the game.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully you're less likely to want to complain about that. You can still say that's too expensive for my budget, but at least you're not thinking, well, this guy's just trying to make a crap ton of money off of me.
Yeah.
His costs took him there. There's a few others that have some really, Appa's not cheap for sure. What they put out, but then you get Joe Bryan with his payoff pitch and best cards in the business and cheapest cards in the business. And people look at that and go, well, how come the rest of them can't do that?
Yeah.
But that's Joe's system, and that's what Joe's got going, and that's great for Joe.
But you got to think though, John, that you need to support these businesses. And if you're like, that's too expensive or that's too this or that's too that, or I can do this or I'm going to do that, then, don't complain if they're not around making new seasons or if they're out of business, you know. And it's the same thing when you go out to eat. It's so expensive to go out to eat now, and every time the check comes, oh my gosh, it's like how much? $20 for a hamburger? Come on. But if we don't go out once in a while and buy that $20 hamburger when we want that $20 hamburger, it's not going to be there.
That's a great point.
And so, and the other things too is you know, some of the seasons are expensive. They can be over $100, you know, and some are 40, some are what, they're all over the place depending on the game and what you're looking to get out of it. But you know, some people will really complain about the prices, but then you see them, you know, or that on Facebook or wherever, they're at a football game or a baseball game or a hockey game. That's got to be between a $200 and $300 or $400 a night between tickets and parking and food and going out to eat. And so you come home and you're $200 or $300 lighter for one night.
Couple hours.
Yep, for a few hours out. Yep, and so that $200 or $300 would bought you how many seasons that you'd have forever.
That's a great point.
So again, we all have money for what we want to have money for, is what it comes down to.
You're right. And you think about, like, you know, a lot of people like yourself came from video gaming industries, and those games are, you know, $50 to $75 and you know, per pop for those games. And I've always talked about, what do you get out of what you bought? So if you play a game, I mean, let's just say you go and play a huge, you know, 300 games with that purchase that you made, do the math on that. You know, you spent what, $1 a day, 30 cents a day to have some incredible enjoyment. That, by the way, doesn't, even if you put it back in your closet, as you just talked about, it's still maybe coming back out in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It's always there for you to continue to enjoy. And as we know, none of these developers are going to, you know, Vegas on us, Waikiki. You know, they're doing enough, they're making enough to continue to help us enjoy what we're doing. But none of them are, you know, sitting here with huge bank accounts.
No, they're not driving around in Corvettes or anything like that, you know. And so it's like, you know, you got to support them, you know, and people support my show too. You know, they support me on YouTube and they support Digital to Dice, and that's kept it going too. I can't, you know, not say that, because it costs real money, you know, with storage and for the EV Mux that I use and some of the equipment that I have and some of the other subscriptions I have. It's not free for me to do all this stuff. And so, you know, because of that help, I can keep all the shows up. Otherwise, I'd have to take the shows down to make some storage space. I don't want to take them down. But every time I add a new one, you know, I get closer to that next tier where I got to spend more a month to store them, because they got to go someplace, you know?
Absolutely.
And so, but again, people will complain about that, but then I see them, it's like, man, you probably spent $200 or $300 at that baseball game or that football game. And it's just, how can you complain about, you know, supporting the hobby when you can go give millionaires and billionaires your money on a weekend or a weeknight or something like that? So, you know, again, we can afford what we want to afford within reason. I know not everybody can do it, you know, and that's a whole another topic for another day as far as, you know, who can afford what. But yeah, no, I don't think any of these people here are getting rich at this. Even the top guys, I don't think any of them are getting rich.
I agree.
And if they are, if they're living well, then good for them, because they put out something that people enjoy.
Hey, one last question for you that I've always thought about this, and I don't know if you have. If you ever had the perfect world just found itself and you were able to buy a gaming company, a Strat, an APA, a Play, what would you do? Is there anything you would immediately change in any of the games? First off, is there any game you would go after? Any vendor that you would be like, man, I would love to own that. And if you did, is there anything you would do different?
There's a couple, and I don't want to say who they are. You know, all right. There's a couple, and I've even approached a couple. Okay.
Have you really?
Yeah, and there was never any money talk, because I had no idea what they would want. But there's a couple that I was like, you know, I'd like to keep this going. And the only thing I would do is I try to do some more marketing, do some more videos, tutorials, show people how the game looks, show it how it plays. And it's surprising that not a lot of developers do that. But again, that's not their thing. Their thing is developing the game. Right. And, you know, the setup that I have here and a few other people in the community have to show games off. That's a whole different skill set. I can't develop a game. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't even know where to begin. That's not my skill set. And so I can show the games off. So I would try to get more coverage, more social media coverage, things like that. If I picked up one of these game companies and try to push that game out there, show people how to play, show how much fun it can be, and that's the only thing I can think of is and try to get whatever company it be. Make sure you have as many seasons as you can. Even if you gotta hire some people short term to fill in seasons, however, whatever kind of help you need to do that, have all the seasons if you can, because that's a big thing with people is that there's been a handful of games that I looked at and it's like, wow, they have 4 seasons, a 60s, an 80s, 2010 and 2022 or something like that. I wouldn't play any of them. So I'm not even going to try your game, because if I fell in love with it, I'd be so frustrated because you wouldn't have a season I wanted to play.
Absolutely.
It's like falling in love with the love of your life. She's like, yeah, by the way, I'm flying back to Australia. That's where I live. It's like, why would you fall in love with somebody like that you can't have a future with? So,
hey, one more, because these things just keep popping in my head, Dave.
Yeah.
One more question, and I've talked about this with several other people, including Ron, and I've always looked at all the people that are in this hobby right now, and I don't know the number, but It seems to me, I'm out here in Colorado, obviously right out here in play country now, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of people west of the Mississippi in this hobby. Everyone I talk to is from the East Coast, is from Ohio, is from Michigan, got some Wisconsins, we got Tennessee people, Kentucky, Ohio, blah, 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 East Coast, Florida. But I don't see the California, Nevada, Arizona, Oregon, Washington State, Montana, blah, blah, even Colorado. Like 4 people it seems like are from Colorado. It seems like there's a ton more people that we're missing. Are we missing them, or is this an East Coast thing?
My gut feeling is that it's the middle of the country is big with this stuff, not the coasts.
Okay.
So I don't know anybody. I know one person up here in Massachusetts. Okay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And aside from that, maybe two, but there's not many up this way. And then out west in California and such. Yeah, there's a couple out there, but it's a lot of the Wisconsins, Indianas, Tennessee's, Ohio, Kentucky. That's where it seems that that's where the people are. There's some in Florida too, because when we do chats, we talk about the snow. Oh, it's 80 in Florida right now. And, got a guy in Dallas that listens to us. We do have a Vancouver guy that tunes in. Nice. But it seems to be mostly the middle of the country, and I don't know, just kind of how it feels, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just things are busier. They don't have that kind of time to sit down and enjoy it. I mean, it's busy over here. Let's just face it, it's busy. It's just you're constantly busy. That's why sometimes I love just to sit down here and play my game and just not go out into the busyness.
Yeah,
and maybe that's what it is. There was one time I got the APA newsletter, and one of the new customers was in the next town over from me.
Oh, wow.
And that's the closest I've ever seen. And I tried to find the guy on Facebook, and I sent the message who I thought who was the guy. I found the oldest guy I could see with that name. Just sent him a message. Said, hey, are you the guy that plays Appa? And he never got back to me. But there's not a lot here, even within driving distance of me. So that's why we have the convention down in Connecticut, because it just is more brings in more people from around the area.
Are we, because you said before in the show that you have people all the time saying, "Oh, I just found the show," blah blah blah. Are we just missing these people, or does it, has this not like reached the West Coast that we've got in the East Coast that we've got this gaming, or maybe these games were marketed, because I grew up in Ohio, so I saw them all over my sporting news and everything else that APA and Strat and Pursue the Pennant and Status Pro were the games as a kid that I saw. And all my friends had it. I probably have 25 friends back in school who played. I actually went into the Air Force, and this guy was like, "Hey man, you ever heard of Status Pro?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Why don't you come over?" When we were both working nights, and I ended up going over there playing a Status Pro game with him. He was from Milwaukee, so so maybe you're right. Maybe just was it. I wonder if they just spent their money on that middle of the country and didn't maybe spend the money on East Coast. Or West Coast. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. That we're all kind of crunched into this one spot, and the most populous states of California, New York, and Texas aren't like overwhelming us with people.
I just, maybe it's a culture thing. Maybe it's just, they got other things going on. They have the Club 54 and all that stuff going on. And I don't know if Tennessee has that,
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Has it ever hit you and think about it when you see people, names or towns or anything, or do you just like, it's just part of what this is?
I like to look to see where people are from, and it's pretty spread out, but yeah, there's a couple of people from California, but not as many as you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the people that just discovered the show, let's face it, for the most part, we're kind of recluses down here in our basement,
Mm-hmm.
or wherever we are in our studies playing these games, and we don't really reach out to a lot of people. It's just, again, can't go into the office and talk to somebody about this stuff. So you kind of have to go out of your way to find the people talking about this.
Right.
And we're not on TV, we're not on cable or anything like that. You have to actively look to find digital to dice. It just, you have to go looking for it. And so we get a lot of people like that. Geez, I didn't know other people were playing this, because I'm just playing in my room myself, my basement, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, look at all these other people playing.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's what it is. I mean, because I'm the same way. I just down here playing myself. And if I didn't start this whole thing and look up, maybe I wouldn't know anybody either. And I might be late to everything.
Yeah. It just seems weird. Just seems, I don't know why it's caught my eye and been my thing, but it just has been my thing lately to go, I just don't understand that. Just doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is, one more, conventions. I know you have yours coming up. Do you want to tell everybody about what's going on with the Digital to Dice convention coming up?
Yeah, that's going to be in May. Let me just double check my dates here. Mike Canastrari is really kind of driving that because he's right down there, right down the street from the place. It's May the 15th and the 16th of May, and it's right across the street from the Foxwoods Casino down there in Preston, Connecticut. I think it's like literally right across the street. You can see the casino from the Hilton, I think it is. And we did it last year. We got, 55, 60 people to go last year. We had a fun time. We just crammed into the room, played some games. We saw some new games that were unveiled. And just played and had a good time. It was just a wide open convention. That's all it was. Just get together and have some fun. And so we decided to do it again this year. And this year was a lot easier. There was a lot of planning last year because we didn't know what we were doing. And this year it's like, okay, let's just book the same place. Let's just get the dates, put it out there, and just do what we did last year. And so this year's been a lot easier. And Mike's handled all of that, but I think even for him, it's been a little bit easier because all he had to do was call the guy and say, "Hey, what date you got? Okay, fine.
Sure.
What's the price?" So whereas last year there was a lot of like looking around and is this place going to be good? And then I drove down to meet him and spent the night at the place to check it out. And we did a couple of dry runs. Like, okay, well, what is this going to look like? And where can I put my stuff and how are we going to set up? And now that we've done it once, I think this year's been a lot easier. And again, Mike's handled most of it down there, Mike Canastrari.
Right. Any vendors expected to show up by chance?
Yeah. We have, I think Al Wilson's coming down. He's representing Play.
Yep.
Let me see here. There's a whole bunch here as well. If I go to the website here, that way I can get everybody here. Ian Brook from On Deck Baseball's coming. Clay Dresslock from Season Ticket Baseball and Football and the Sports Mogul Games. S.T. Patrick, we know him from Sports and Magazine, Matchup College Football, and he's going to be showing off his Matchup College Basketball.
Can't wait to see that. Yeah,
yep.
Can't wait to see that.
Yep. And again, I don't know if Keith Avalon's coming from Play, but Al Wilson's definitely coming. Paul Fay is coming. He's the person working on Pocket Pennant Run. and the new software for that, which looks fantastic. Michael Kane will be representing Stratomatic Games.
Nice.
And Matt McKeever from Pocket Pennant Run, who helped design the card game, is showing up, and he's got a new reveal. He's showing off a brand new game.
Nice. So it should be a lot of fun. A lot of. Well, if someone hasn't been to a convention before, what would you tell them to expect? When they walk through that door and expect for the weekend.
You ever seen that video in the 80s with a little girl dressed up as the Bumblebee?
I don't think I have.
All I can say is my life is pretty plain.
The video. Yes.
Video. That song. Yes. I forget who did the video.
I do too. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And she's finding her way through the city, dressed as a bumblebee, doesn't fit in. At the end, she runs into all the other bumblebees, and she's at home. That's exactly what a convention is that you show up and everybody there is talking games and playing games, and it's just a big group hug. It's a good time, and you'll do more talking than you will playing. Because you finally get in a room full of people who speak your language, and you can talk about rolling 66 twice, and they know what you mean. You can say, "Hey, did you play this game? Did you play that game? Let me show you this game. Let me show you that game." I learned so many games at conventions. Sat down with people. Sometimes they're new. Sometimes they're games I just never played. I've showed games off. Hey, Dave, show me this game. Okay, I'll show you. And that's what we do. That's what you do at conventions. You just sit with like-minded people, and you have a good time. And you can play or not play. It doesn't matter. Some people set up little tournaments, and you can jump in those or not. It's up to you. The first couple of times I went, I just kind of watched. I really didn't get involved. I just watched and just took it all in and just sat with people and just looked over shoulders and just asked questions. And it was it's something, like I say, you don't get to do very often. And Absolutely. So try to get out to at least one. Even if you just go to one convention, just go and check it out. And we usually have a pretty good time at them. So that's what you can expect. And, it's, going out to eat with people and just kind of, getting to learn everybody. And, it's kind of like what you talked about, like meeting the developers, here on the channel or on the podcast. It's the same kind of thing. You meet people in the community and you get to learn a little bit about them. And then, we do have, all those developers going to be there, so you can ask them questions. Really looking forward to see some of the people on that list and either seeing their games again or something like that. You get to play the games with the developers too. Yep, that's what Mike says. Yep. And that's fun too. I actually, when I was in Colorado, I grabbed Clay, and I says, "Clay, I want to play season ticket baseball." He says, "Okay, who are you going to be?" I says, "No, I'm going to play season ticket baseball, and you're going to watch and make sure I'm playing it correctly." He's like, "You don't want to play me?" I was like, "No, I don't play anybody. I play alone, but I want you to watch, and I want to make sure that I'm playing it right." And I played it right. And I even got to bunt. Yes, Michael, I got to bunt.
Was it a squeeze?
I did the squeeze play. Yeah, Michael doesn't allow squeeze plays. And I scored on the squeeze play too. And we made sure that Michael knew that I scored on a squeeze play. But I did. I got to play with the developer. And any questions I had, I said, "Hey, what about this?" And he would explain it. And it was great. It was so good that he was there, the guy that developed the game. And so if I got stuck or if I had a question about something, he clarified it like that because he was right there.
Absolutely. When I went to the one in Denver before I had to leave due to a family emergency, I got to sit down with St. Patrick, and he was showing his football at that time. And I got to play against him. And there's nothing like being able to play against a developer. Because, I mean, he's like, "Okay, here's what you're doing." And he can get you past all the little stuff and get you right into the meat and potatoes of the game. And here we go. And like you said, he's not, you can ask a question and he's not fumbling through the rulebook to try and get you an answer. He built the thing. He knows exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's the great thing about And if the developer of a particular game is not there, usually there's someone there that is really good. Really good. Last time we had Jeff Giordano from the Apple Football Club, and he was answering all kinds of questions about Apple football. I don't think he's going this year, but he's out in Canton. I'm going to try to get to Canton this year, and he was helping me with Apple football. I was like, "Oh, this is just great." So if it's not the developer, then there's somebody there that knows the game that can really help you out. And so the only guy I wouldn't play against again is Keith from Play. He showed me his his Fury football game, or Football Fury, one of the two.
Mhm.
And he just totally wiped the floor with me. It was like 56-0. It's like, Keith, you're supposed to let me win here. And he's just like, he knew the game inside and out and and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And he destroyed me. It's like, Keith, what are you doing, man? It's like,
that's great.
So, I was like, I'm the new guy here. You're supposed to sell me the game. Let me win. Let me feel good about myself. No, he destroyed me because he knew it. And I didn't know anything about it, but it still was a fun game.
Yeah, I think actually ST destroyed me in our game too, because he had Tennessee and I had Purdue. I don't remember what it was, but he they must really still have that deep desire to kick some butt.
Well, it's just you know what you're doing is what it is compared to someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And there's some of those games, there was some strategy, especially that Fury football game, whereas there were certain times you should run and certain times you should pass, and different guys in setting up your team. Really, I didn't know what I was doing for the team, and so and he knew what he was doing. So, but a game like APA or Strat, I mean, that's really kind of just, if you go with a as played batting order and roll dice, there's probably really no advantages to that, But
absolutely. But it's such an advantage to have somebody there so you're not fumbling through a rule book where, I'm sure you've been like this when you first get a game. It takes you 3 hours to do something. It should take you a half hour to play.
Oh yeah.
And then the next time it's 2 hours, the next time it's 1 hour, and the next time now you're starting in a group. But if you can go to a convention, you can eliminate a lot of that just by talking to, either the developer or, like you said, somebody who just knows how to play that game. Even if you don't like to, I'm like you, Dave. I do not like to play games at conventions. I am a me against me guy. Mm-hmm. But I found the convention just to learn games. If I wanted to learn a game, I mean, I know how to play APA. I'm not going to go play APA against somebody. I already know how to play that. I wouldn't find any, unless it maybe entered a tournament, but I'm not even really into that stuff. I know some people are and they love it. Great for them. But to learn how to sit down with like ST, that changed my mind at that conference that I can get something out of playing games. I got to go attack the ones I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to get something out of the conference, besides just all the great camaraderie, which was just absolutely incredible.
I don't think I played many full games. I think that season ticket baseball I played with Clay watching just so I could make sure I got it right. But most of the time, I just played like a period or two, or a quarter, or a couple of innings, just so I could see how the game worked. Like when I sat down with Glenn from Strat and we played some Strat football, I said, I just want to play myself, because he set it up for two. I said, no, just me. And I says, I want you to help me with it. And I says, I just want to play like a handful of plays. I want to get the feel of it. And he did. And I rolled the dice and he walked me through everything. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's too bad they don't have more seasons. Which is another discussion, because I would have picked the game up, but the game is fine. And then I would show some games too. Someone sat down and said, hey, let's play this game here. I forget how to play it, so we play a period. And we weren't playing really against each other. It was just going through the mechanics of the game. Right. And that's what I enjoy, because I'm not there to play full games. I don't need to play a full hour and a half hockey game. 20 minutes, half hour for a period. Perfect. We can kind of learn it, because I'll go home and play a full game. Me and ST sat in Canton and I was showing him how I play APA football, and we were having a fun time. In fact, he had this, he goes, I'll take the 76 Buccaneers, and I had the 76 Patriots, and the Buccaneers were winning. And it was like, the Patriots fumbled and the Buccaneers somehow scored. I think they got the ball on the 6-yard line, and it took 4 plays for him to score. And then they missed the extra point, of course. And then the Patriots fumbled again, and the Buccaneers went backwards 15 yards and kicked the field goal. But they were winning 9-0 in that game. But I was just kind of showing them how I played APA football. So maybe this is not how you play it, but this is how I do it and how I have fun. So it was fun to sit down and just do that. I think another guy was showing someone how to play hockey bones at the Football Hall of Fame, and I was like, showing how I play and how fun and how easy it is. And I think it was Robert was showing Tebow how to play hockey bones, and I says, yep, this is a fun game, just like APA. So it's a good time. And at these conventions too, you can also bring stuff to sell and trade. Some conventions allow that. We do. So we got a whole table about stuff that you can sell or you can trade. And so that's there too, because a lot of people have a lot of games. Geez, I haven't played this in forever, so if somebody else wants it, that's good for them,
Sure.
So yeah, they're a fun time, but there's a lot of conversations. I mean, as soon as you walk in the door, you're talking to somebody. That's what it is. And every way you look, someone's talking games or playing games, and it's a good time.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's what this is all about. It's a in person instead of online visiting. It's really nice, and it's everybody's. What I saw is, at least from at play, was how a lot of people were just no stress. They were there for the weekend. They were relaxed. They wanted to have a beer and sit down and just have a blast. It just seems like a great environment to be in. So. All right. Well, I'm not going to take any more of your time, Dave. Again, thanks for coming on here. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best on your show. You're going to do another 300 for sure. There's no doubt in my mind. So maybe it can get you back at the 600 one, or something.
Jeepers, right? Holy cow.
You'll get there for sure. So this has been Pulpit Chair with Dave Gardner, the godfather of podcasting. And I appreciate him being on the show. And we will talk to everyone later.
Thank you.